welcome to the Chef's Corner. My name's Trey Goodwin, a culinary instructor at Gulf Coast State College. Today we're going to talk about setting a dining room table for your guests, friends, family, whoever may be dining with you that evening. This is basically some of the things we touch on in our program. For the second year students, we show them an array of different types of settings, but for today, we're just going to go over the basics. If you will, go ahead and take a look at our right down here. We have a great example of what we'll be doing, okay? So, let's go ahead and get started. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the center of the chair. The guest's perception or guest point of view is the most important. So, first thing I tell my students is to set their chair. Chair has to be centered. It should barely touch the tablecloth, but it should not obstruct the tablecloth, okay? Once you have the center of your chair set, you're going to move to your charger. We call them chargers. They're base plates. And the whole idea of setting a table at home or for an event is you want to be as symmetrical as possible, okay? So, once you got your chair set, you set your charger or base plate. You want to make sure that that's perfectly centered with our first setup. Now, spacing is key. For you guys at home, I tell my students 2 fingers. I've recently learned that for ladies that could be up to 3. Try to shoot for at least 2 inches off the table, okay? Once we got our base plate set, we're going to move on to flatware, okay? We're going to start on the left side using the flatware we have available. First thing going down is an entree fork. An entree fork is a long prong fork. And basically we're going to start on the inside and work our way out. Okay, so we have our entree fork down. Then comes our salad fork. And the next will be our appetizer fork. Okay. Once we've got those set, we're going to move to the right side. Now, on the right side comes the knives. First and foremost would be our entree blade, which is a serrated knife. Depending on the dish, you may or may not need a serrated blade. I recommend that you always have one readily available on the table. So, serrated blade goes down, and something to always remember when you're setting your blades, you want your blade to face inwards, okay? And you want all your blades to match. Next knife is going to be our salad knife, and then followed by our app knife, okay? Now before we move forward, we're going to go ahead and take a second and check the spacing on the silverware. So again, I take my 2 fingers, set them at the edge of the table, and I bring them down. Another important thing you need to do as far as spacing apart, use your pointer index finger, and you want to make sure they're exactly 1 finger distance apart, okay? Go to the left side, check the spacing here. And then again, check your spacing. Make sure they're 1 finger apart. Now, lastly, for this right side, we have to put a beverage spoon. This is 1 piece of silverware that will remain on the table for the entirety of your service or dinner. Beverage spoon can be used for stirring sweeteners or stirring coffee. It's just something I recommend to my students to keep readily available on the table. And that goes on the far right outside of your appetizer knife. Okay? Lastly, our dessert silverware. The best way to remember this is the spoon always on top facing left, okay? Always on top facing left. Your fork right below the spoon facing right. And the best way I can remember is if you take your fork, it will slide down to your forks. If you take your spoon, it will slide down to the only spoon you have available, okay? Now, last but not least, our butter plate. Now, you need to always remember that your butter plate goes on the left of your base plate, okay? So I usually put it about 2 inches above my entree fork, and then I take 2 fingers and I space it away from my base plate. Now here's the catch with the butter knife. Most people are right-handed, so the way you want to place your butter knife down is you want the point facing away, okay? And here's the reason why. Blade down, point facing away. If you were right-handed and you sat down and you reached for your butter knife, the blade would already be pointing down and easy to grasp, okay? If it was facing the opposite way and you were right-handed, it would be kind of awkward to deal with. So always on the left side, blade down, okay? And that basically covers how to set a table. A couple do's and don'ts I want to go over for you. If you're ever serving guests, always remember when you're serving food, you want to leave the food with the left hand on the left side, and then when you're pulling it from the table, you want to retrieve right with the right hand. My name's Trey Goodwin. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.